nearly 9 minutes past 10. One thing that may not come naturally to you or may come naturally to you is emotional resilience. The Macquarie Dictionary defines resilience as a resilient power or elasticity, or resilient action, rebound or recoil, or the power of ready recovery from sickness, depression or the like, buoyancy or cheerfulness. But what does it mean in your life, and are there different types of resilience, and how much of a bearing does it have on your relationships, your success in life and the choices that you make? Well, Dennis Hoiberg is a bit of an expert in this field, and he's been travelling to regional areas giving palatable lessons in emotional resilience, and he's here to give us a dose. Good morning, Mr. Hoiberg.
Good morning. That was a great introduction.
Well, I guess you can start. That's what the Macquarie Dictionary says resilience is. Cheerfulness was one word I wasn't expecting to see there. But how does emotional resilience differ from general resilience?
Well, look, I define emotional resilience as the ability for individuals to what I call bounce forward. It's a recognition in people's lives that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and that all of us are going to go through life and have good times and bad times. It's our capacity at the emotional level to get through those times, and for us to what I call bounce forward. And by bouncing forward, I'm talking about accepting this is happening, and it has happened, and then being strong enough emotionally to work through it with yourself, with your family, with your mates, and with the broader community. And one of the things we're trying to do up here, I'm sorry?
Yeah, you're right, go ahead.
One of the things we're trying to do up here as part of the Suncorp Bank Agribusiness Tour is to get people in regional Australia to start being aware of this topic of resilience. I hear a lot of people on the farm talk to me, on the grades talk to me about, the need for good stock, good water, good crops. And I say to them, that's really important for your business, but who's looking after you? Because if you can't look after yourself, you can't look after your family, you can't look after your mates, you can't look after your business. So it's about time as people out here we start to be more conscious of this topic.
So the stereotype of a Western Queenslander, I suppose, is someone who can face adversity and pull through, someone who's quite stoic, perhaps a little emotionally uncomfortable. How does that kind of personality play in with emotional resilience? Do they have a healthy dose, or is it more that they have coping strategies?
I think it's more that. I mean, I think out here people are resilient. You have to be. However, what happens is we go through good and bad times in the normal course of the day, whatever the normal means. We go through some difficult times through abnormal circumstances like droughts or floods or the Australian dollar or debt. And a lot of people I'm finding out here, Nicole, actually, I found this down in southeast Queensland and all the other places I work with around Australia, is a lot of us play hurt. We know we're hurting internally, but we know we've got to keep going, especially us blokes.
That's what I was going to ask. Do some people appear to have emotional resilience, but really they're just bottling it up?
Yeah, absolutely they do. And what happens is something. We're very stoic. We're putting on a strong front. We continue to do what we're doing because that's what's expected of us, because we're a Queenslander and all those other catch cries. But then something happens, and all of a sudden, bang! All of a sudden, something, and usually it's something small that happens in your life, and all of a sudden this reaction occurs, and people are saying, "Gee, I wonder where that came from." Where it came from was years and years and years of repression, and then what we need to do is work through these emotions and come up with some strategies by which to get us through those difficult times. And the strategies that I talk to people about is critically out here is the need for connectivity with your family, with your mates and broader, and especially with your community. The other thing that we need to think about is your physical, your mental, your spiritual, and your medical plans.
And so let's talk about the connectivity a bit more. Is that having people to share with?
Yeah, look,
basically having friends and contacts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this thing about having the courage to be connected with your neighbour, having the courage to be connected with your community, and having the courage to both reach out and looking after your mates to reach out to them. Now, by connectivity, I mean, people say to me, "Well, Dennis, that's very fine in theory, or where you come from, the city, but mate, I live my next door neighbour is 100 mile away. How am I going to do that? And then we start talking about, well, there are other, it's all about planning. It's all about using the technology that may or may not be available to you. It's about planning about, okay, if I'm going to be through this period of isolation, I need to be starting to plan something for myself later on to give myself a break and to reconnect with my family and my mates and with the community. So it's about the courage to looking after yourself. And a lot of blokes will look at me when I say the word courage, you know, and I say to them, well, I'm a bloke, and sometimes, you know, we look after everyone else or we don't look after everyone else. We've got to have the courage to be able to address the issue internally, the courage to reach out to other people, and then to plan how we're going to do it on a regular basis.
So emotional resilience, is it something that you're born with? I mean, people that you come across that have great emotional resilience, is it by accident, birthright, or by a strategy?
It's a combination of, I think it's a combination of God-given DNA. I mean, some of us are just naturally very resilient. Others of us have one piece of bad news or one piece of change in our life and we spit it. But then we go through life and we have various life experiences. We start to develop a perspective. And one of the things I talk to these people started as agribusiness to or Suncorp is that you've got to have your plan, and the plan is about understanding how you maintain this resilience. And it's not just about life experience. It's not just about your natural levels. You can have a plan, and the plan is about those things I mentioned in terms of your medical, your connectivity, your physical, your mental, and your spiritual strategies.
So let's talk about some mental strategies, which is, I guess, the first platform that someone can work on themselves.
Yeah, one of the one of the mental strategies I work with a lot on with people is a thing called self-talk. How do you talk to yourself when you're going through bad times? I follow people when they go through bad times, sometimes blame themselves, or they say, oh, this is God getting back at me. It's not. It's how do you talk to yourself? How do you talk to yourself in a bad time? You know, it's not about your own self-image. One of the messages I give as part of this tour is not how other people see it, it's how you see yourself. How would you define yourself? I get people to do an exercise. Define yourself in writing. How do you see yourself? If someone just says to me, I'm a grazier, they're underselling themselves at a mental level. They're actually a very successful small business person with a whole range of skills that they can apply on their own property as well as into the broader communities. So the mental is about self-talk, understanding how you think, feel and behave within yourself, and then projecting that with other people and helping other people talk about self-talk. One of the strategies I give people is that if you're concerned about your mates, have a conversation with them at an intellectual level, an emotional level. Mate, how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your current circumstances? How do you feel about your future? So there's some questions we can ask as part of this mental strategy, questions of ourselves and then of other people around us.
And so how much does self-confidence have in resilience?
Well, I separate self-confidence from self-image and self-esteem. There are a lot of people who would appear to have high self-confidence but have actually got very low self-images. So self-confidence certainly helps. It helps to be confident in yourself. But I think there's a level below that, Nicole, that I try and get people to talk about is that what's your self-image? And if you've got a positive self-image of yourself, then everything else will happen to you. You know, some of the people might be going through bad times, and you know, certainly when we were down in Toowoomba and Rocky and some of the other places part of the Suncorp tour, people had gone through bad experiences. I noticed the ones who had a positive self-image and said, okay, this is a bad thing, but I will get through this. They're the ones who I would define as being emotionally resilient. So consequently, and by the way, we also have to work with kids, give them positive attitudes about themselves, positive self-images, and they'll actually build their resilience for some of the challenges they're going to face later on.
Can there be, is it ever possible to have too much, or is there a point when this resilience idea, this emotional resilience idea goes into, I'm thinking of an example, and I don't know if you've seen the film Little Miss Sunshine?
No, I haven't. There's
a character on the film who I guess we would call it, he's got so much self-confidence and I guess so resilient that he's almost disillusioned. He's not in touch with really what's going on.
Well, yep. cutting across you. The resilience is being in touch with reality. You know, there are some people I work with who have this sort of a diagram that it's like, you know, why all these bad stuff happening to me, and they're coping, and you know, I always say to them, well, why not you? And there are other people who just who cope, but there are these other people who are so self-confident they're almost delusional, you know. And they're the ones I really worry about, because they've got a self-perception that they are so much bulletproof. One small thing happens to them that doesn't confirm their self-image, and they drop it. And they're the ones who actually, from a counselling perspective, are actually the ones that are hard to bring around, because almost this self-expectation and expectations of others on them hurts them deeply. And one other thing, blokes are really good at hiding insecure self-images behind this perception of being self-confident.
Now, as you mentioned, you're on a tour at the moment in Richmond today.
Yes, it's a lovely place up here, isn't it?
And have you got many more places in your
tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow we go to Chartered Towers, and then on Friday we go to Ayr. And of course, I'm only the support act, Nicole. I'm big Mel Meninga's with us, so I'm just carrying his bags around Queensland. But no, it's a great reaction. I mean, a lot of people are saying to us, "Gee, this isn't the type of topic we would have expected a bank like Suncorp to promote." But I guess Suncorp is trying to say to people that, you know, in our relationship, not only are we bankers with you, we're long-term supporters of you, and part of the long-term support is the emotional support we want to give you.
All right, Dennis, thanks very much for your time.
No, it's been a great honour and great pleasure to talk to you. Have a great day, eh?
Thanks. That's Dennis Hoiberg, an expert in emotional resilience, part of a tour going around various parts of Queensland to talk about that topic and others.